Hello, I'm HG Tudor, and welcome to the 100,000 Subscriber Interviews, a series of short interviews with people who have harnessed my work and seized the power. My next guest is ready, so let's find out more about them. Hello, what's your name and where are you from?
Good morning, HG. My name is Doug Cramer, and I reside in the belly of the beast, Narcissist Central, otherwise known as Hollywood, California.
A brave man living there in Hollywood, and of
Indeed.
course, many of the people listening will know Doug very well, as he and I have spoken on many occasions, and there's more interviews to come, so you can all look forward to that. But it's my turn to ask the questions today. So,
dear.
Yep, I've got him in my sights, so let's get straight down to business. Doug,
Yes.
How did you find my work?
In 2016, HG, I became swept off my feet by a gal that appeared out of nowhere in my acting class. She swept me off my feet, love bombed me, and we proceeded to go on the Dance of the Narcissist, the roller coaster ride. Now, as you know, since I had grown up in a cult, Scientology, and I escaped several years prior, I was also assessing my family situation that had to do with a narcissistic upbringing. I couldn't help but notice that this was a learning experience. I didn't know that I could be ensnared in a one-on-one relationship. So I just happened to come across your information, and I was taking notes while I was experiencing this, learning a lot. That's how I came across your information for the first time.
Did you just came across, was it the blog or was it the videos or?
It was the videos, and particularly learning about, well, I guess we can get into that later, but you taught me about empaths, about the fuel matrix. I was learning everything in a crash course manner.
Okay, well, that touches on as well what the situation was. So tell me about, Doug, how was that situation affecting you at that time?
Well, HG, even though that was the catalyst to connect a lot of dots, because once I ran across your information, you really helped me understand everything I'd been working on for years, sussing the cult. So that wasn't the big thing, meeting her, but it was studying your videos and your blogs while having an interaction live and putting together everything else that I had already studied. That was really the real narcissist is my mother that started this whole thing. I believe that determined my father getting into Scientology. We all got sucked into a super narcissistic environment with that. And then when I was coming out of it, only when I came across your information did I piece together one-on-one relationships, cult leaders, and my family dynamic were all the same damn thing.
Yeah. It's an absolute perfect storm that you found yourself involved in.
And Hollywood.
Yeah, and I know that's one, Doug, that my viewers find interesting when you and I talk in the more expansive interviews. Now, with all of that, which of my books have you read?
Funny you should ask, HG. I thought that most of your information was on those videos, what could possibly be in the books, but I've been listening to these interviews that you've been doing with people, which are so interesting. I went out and got this book. This is the standard one.
Look at that.
By the way, is that you, young man? Is that you?
It is in one of my particularly well-fueled moments, and you can see the dead eyes there, of course.
Oh, that's
there I am. There I am. My nose isn't as flat as that. I must point that out. I'm aiming the printer of that book there with a bit of blame shifting.
That's a fantastic cover, by the way. You even say at the intro, perhaps you picked up this book by the intriguing cover, and you don't even know. Well,
interestingly, the Kindle versions have all got nearly all of them got new covers, which you might have seen. So you've got the existing cover there, which needs to be updated, and that's on my to-do list. My graphic designer has updated those, but it's certainly it certainly does draw people in, that cover.
Definitely. Real quick, HG, though, this book was so mind-blowing. First of all, the book's opened up a new dimension. Like I said, I thought all the information was in your videos. What am I going to possibly learn about fuel? Whole another dimension opened up. So I went out and got Manipulated. I heard about that one through the interviews. I got Narcissist Exorcism, not least because I stole this from one of my thumbnails in our interviews. I figured I have to pay you back. I really want to actually know how to exorcise any residual stuff. I got Sitting Target. Who doesn't want to know how this all started? And then, since I love you, my friend, I want to know more about you. Ask the Narcissist.
There we are.
And I can guarantee you I'll be getting all your books at some point, because I had no idea how much more knowledge. You put out a ton of information for free, HG, which I really, really appreciate. But I never heard you promote the fact that there's a whole new world in the books. So thank you for, I get my mind
Not at
blown.
all. Well, thank you for obtaining those, and that'll open your eyes even further as you sit down and
Definitely.
work your way through all of that. Excellent. So you've only really just started to embrace those books, and I think you've kind of touched on what my next question will be asking is which you found the most useful, really fuel so far has been the eye-opener for you.
It has, and if it's any precursor to what lays in the rest of the books, I gonna get a lot out of them. There's 10 points I could reel off you, which I won't. Just that you answered about my cult situation, and just my friend, it's really deep book. So you answered a lot of personal questions that I haven't come across. I don't know how you can read minds, but you opened up that book blew my frickin' mind.
Yeah, good.
It really did.
Pleased to hear that. And have you ventured into the Knowledge Vault?
I haven't. Like I said, a new world was opened up with the book, so I downloaded Matriarch, I believe it was, to learn more about my mother. That's the first purchase on the Knowledge Vault, but I really want to do the empath detector.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really start utilizing your services because, like I said, I didn't know that there was a whole body of knowledge, which I really need to get hip to.
Absolutely.
Quickly.
You need to get hip to the groove, Daddy-O. So
exactly.
I've certainly endorsed you doing the empath detector. I think you'll be fascinated to see what the outcome is for you.
I can't wait to see that, my friend. I've been a little bit terrified, HG, because, you know, whenever anybody says they're an empath or a super empath to me, I immediately think they're a narcissist. I would never want to say that out loud.
That's not a bad position to adopt, Doug, because empaths don't go around parading it. That once they find it out, and if you were to ask somebody, as I have done in the in these interviews, and I've said to people, what's the do you identify as an empath? Well, I'm asking them. So they'll go, well, yes, I do. What they don't do is climb to the top of the church steeple and go, hello, everybody. I'm a super empath and I'm a Heyoka ninja kick out, do down the narcissist.
Heyoka, yeah. Oh, gosh, man, please.
All that shit. So yeah. The ones that tend to shout about it, you're absolutely right. You're not antennae twitch at that because it's an indicator. So you're right. You're right to do so. So there's plenty you're going to get tucked into the Knowledge Vault. Now,
I can't wait.
Your situation is a little bit different to everybody else's that I've spoken to so far because you and I have had many interviews with one another. So I thought it'd be better to actually ask you, what made you decide to come and interview me?
You mentioned in one of our interviews that I heard your stentorian voices calling out to me through the night and was calling me an HG. That's not dissimilar to kind of how I felt. You know, I just really like you, to be honest with you. And I don't want to use the word fan, but I, you know, worked in Hollywood and was surrounded by people that you'd think you'd want to look up to. I was disappointed with that crowd a lot. But certain people on YouTube were saving my life while I was in the deepest trauma. And you're at the very top of that list. So I just always admired you. I thought your work was brilliant. And I wanted to, I sort of peaked. I mean, I just wrote you a comment, HG, and asked if you'd be kind enough to interview. I didn't think you'd respond. I've reached out to a lot of people that just dismissed me. Right. I've had nothing but positive interactions with you. And like I feel like I peaked on the first interview because whoever I interview from here on out, it's all downhill from here. You're the one I wanted to speak to the most, man. Yeah. Just because you helped me the most.
Excellent. Well, I'm very pleased that that's the case. And we've established an excellent rapport in our interviews.
Thank you, man.
I mentioned earlier, we're slated to talk again next month, aren't we? So,
thank you so much. Yeah,
no problem at all.
I really appreciate it.
It's worthwhile and everybody enjoys them. The feedback that we get from those interviews is always excellent.
Excellent, man.
So when you first going to interview me, Doug, and that was that moment of speaking to me, how did you feel?
Like everybody else, of course, intimidated. However, I do have a background in acting and speaking, so I was concerned at the time, if you really want to know, is the audio going to come out right? There's many things I had to worry about because I'm still learning how to do the technical side, the YouTube, etc. Add on top of that, I'm talking to someone that I greatly want to speak to and that I admire. And you have an intimidating presence, but you quickly eased me into that. So the fear went away right away. And every conversation we have, I don't even know where the time goes. I'm completely engrossed with what we're actually talking about. Yeah,
it's certainly a situation of tempus fugit. Okay. So you talked about where you were, Doug, when you first came along and sort of came across my work. Where are you now in relation to those narcissist situations? We know that you extracted yourself from the cult, of course, but what about the one-on-one situation you talked about?
HG, I'm in a totally different world. That was the last in 2016. Now I've attracted narcissists and learned more about it since then, but that was the last major one. Um, when I came out of the cult, I lost everything: my
Yeah,
family, my mind, my self-identity. Here I am in my 30s having to start over as a 6-year-old. I mean, it's hard to even describe how stupid, unworldly, and how afraid I was of the outside world. So it took a long time to get. I won't bore you with the details, but I spent a lot of time on that process. So I'm in
yeah,
a completely different world than the one I grew up with my family. The cult is no part of my life. And
good.
not only that, I'm healing enough where I want to, make a contribution like you. I mean, I don't have nearly the audience, but I'm compelled to speak out about what I learned and try to share with other people. I'm not only not afraid. I don't walk around paranoid. Ooh, are these kind of people come into my life? I have a zero tolerance for anybody that comes at me with any kind of an agenda,
Yeah.
just because of what I've been through. So I don't have time for any of that. I can spot it thanks to your work, and I'm in an entirely different world than what I grew up in.
Very positive. I'm pleased to hear all
Thanks,
of
man.
that. Yeah,
Thanks for the help.
not at all. So what part of my work has helped you the most and why?
Without a doubt, the fact that you're a narcissistic psychopath and you can articulate it in a way that works perfectly for me simply because I have never met anybody like you. I read a million books on sociopaths, HG, the snakes suits, the sociopath next door, all the classic
Oh,
books.
yes. Yeah.
I listened to all the videos. There's one other self-aware narcissist out there that I'd come across before you. I don't listen to anybody else at all because I don't want to contaminate my brain with narcissistic supply and all this other stuff that seems outdated, outmoded, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I hope people don't think I'm, trying to promote you for any other reason than the fact that you simply deliver what you promise, which is unusual from a narcissist. And there's nothing that comes even freaking close to the body of work that you offer. And it's a completely different. I can't get across enough, HG, how without this knowledge, and I wasn't getting it from the various sources that I told you about, without
Mhm.
coming across your life, I feel like I would be in a, I might have suicided myself. I would have had a really hard time.
Okay. Well, that just demonstrates the gravity of the work.
Hmm.
What would you like to learn more about?
Like the other people that you interviewed, of course, I'm interested in the empath series that you have coming up. I
Yeah.
would also like to know, because it leans towards solutions. Part of the solution is, of course, learning about your kind. That's probably 90% of it. But my focus lately has been on, um, so how do we do something about this? Particularly, too, I'd like to know more about the normals. In this book, Fuel, my man,
Mhm.
one of the revelations I had, which I thought was profound, is that we kind of have a small percentage of narcissists dominating, and then we have a small percentage probably of empathic people that want to kind of wake up the herd,
Yeah.
the normal. So I'd like to know more about that because maybe solutions could lie there. Okay, so we know what the problem is. What
Yeah.
can we do to spread this information and get it out there and
Good
really,
point.
because it could change it could change the world, I think.
Okay. Good point. What do you think of narcissists now?
Well, after having been through all the emotional trauma, feeling every emotion I didn't even know a human body could feel. In other words, I spent a long time processing this. So if you would have asked me back in the day, I would say I hate them. We need to take them down, etc. But now
Mhm.
it's more like a clinical study and understanding where
Yeah.
the emotion's gone, and I'm just focused, like I said, on solutions. And also, when I look back at my whole experience, if I had to sum it up, the narcissist, at least for me, was the single greatest catalyst for waking up and removing the scales from my eyes. And I don't, like you said, HG, don't thank your abuser. You didn't
Mm.
need them to become who you are. But
Mhm.
since that was the situation that I grew up in, I do wonder what my life would have been like if I didn't have the environment because it taught me so much. And I'm thankful for that. I don't know how that would have come about otherwise.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And what's your favorite aspect of my work?
Um, again, the fact that you're speaking from, I don't mean to be mean when I say this, obviously, but to me, you represent the dark side, the
Sure.
side that people don't want to look at, my
Yeah.
own blind spots. So I don't have an overly morbidly fascination with that, but I did want to dive into the side that I was turning away from, and most people want to turn away from, the side of evil. When, what you talk about, super intense, and it can be very traumatizing. And the aspect that hurt the most but benefited me the most, again, what separates your work is the fact that you give it to a person straight, no sugarcoating. And I don't know anybody other than a narcissist, particularly someone who can really articulate it, could actually get across this most important information. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. And
Thank you.
finally, what's your message to people listening, Doug?
Besides the standard one, if you're obviously involved in or suspect that you're involved in any kind of an abusive relationship, something's weird in your life, obviously go to HG. Just start there. And as you mentioned in the last interview, dive in, avail yourself of it. But on a broader scale, I would personally hope, this is why I kind of care about your information so much. I'd like to help you in any way I can to just spread it, my own way, because it had the most profound effect on my life. It was the keys to not only human behavior, but life itself. So
Yeah.
anybody that's interested in life, anybody that breathes, even if you're not immersed in it, it can be, I think, the single most, if you want the biggest bang for your buck in understanding the world, particularly what's going on now and why things might seem a little random and crazy, and why is there so much happening, there's no better bang for your buck than diving into the subject that you teach about.
Fantastic. A great summing up there of why this work's so important. Doug, fighting the good fight there in the viper's den that is the good to have you on, my friend, and we will speak soon. So that's Doug. Thank you for sharing your observations, Doug.
Thank you very much, HG, for everything. I appreciate it. And as usual, have a good day.